Hey everyone, brand new episode of David Seaman Hour coming at you from Los Angeles. Here today with Del Cameron, my campaign manager, and Amber Lyon, and
Hello.
Nicole Powers,
Hello.
and
Carrie Brazil.
our generous host.
Carrie Brazillo, who loves that your name is Seaman.
So do a lot of people. Some people hate it though.
And Jason.
Jason over there.
Hello.
Quiet,
All right.
yet powerful.
Del, can you explain the context for tonight?
The binder's full of women.
Oh yeah. Well,
I'm
we're
too drunk and tired, so we
we're at Carrie's house with Amber and Nicole, and what was it again?
Jason.
And we just did We just finished Joe Rogan's show and came over, and we made them rewatch the debate because they had already finished.
We want to see it.
But when we got here, it wasn't so much about the debate; it was about a specific line in the debate, which was apparently trending worldwide for quite a while. And I think Amber should explain it.
Well, Governor Romney at one point during the debate so eloquently said that he had binders. He is all for women's equality because he has
Visual.
binders full of women. And I didn't quite understand what he meant by having binders full of women. I still don't get it. I think he's trying to say he's all for women and for women's rights, but to me it was some kind of sick. I don't really understand it. Nicole, you explain.
Well, I understood it more because I know that he owns Staples and he's all for binders. And I'm sure if you hit Staples tomorrow morning, there will be a special for the ladies. A binders of women special for the ladies, 50% off, and courtesy of Mitt Romney, because he's all about binders of women for the ladies.
I think he meant well. That's something that came out horribly wrong, and it's something that probably didn't happen in real life. Like he imagined this scenario that makes him seem so like equal.
No, but he's
righteous.
so.
Are you playing devil's advocate?
I am.
He's playing devil's advocate
like-
because you know that, like, it's like me saying, like, I have black friends. That was Mitt Romney.
Or
Wait, Nicole, do you have binders full of black friends?
That would be the
I
equivalent.
have
If-
binders full of gay friends.
If I didn't actually have real black friends and real gay friends, I might make up pretend binders full of black friends and gay friends to illustrate the fact that I'm not a bigot. And I have a feeling that that was the point that Mitt Romney was trying to say, because he is a bigot when it comes to women, that he was like, some of my best friends are women. Look, I have binders full of them.
I thought it was a polygamous kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely
Do you
under
think that-
polygamy.
do you
His
think
family has binders full of lots of
Do you think the
women.
story
Come on.
itself was even true?
I don't think it was true. I think he made that up on the fly. I think if you were to question which aide actually brought the binders into his office, that aide doesn't exist.
I think some journalist, some investigative journalist needs to go into his office and ask to see the binders.
No, wait,
Yes.
Wait,
Yes,
you guys, the fact checkers, why don't they have a Twitter account that are live tweeting the fact checking of everything that everyone's saying?
Well, actually, the person that I actually do believe has binders of women would be Obama. And he has binders of women journalists that tell the truth. And that's under the NDAA.
And they're going to be predator droned.
Tonight I was tweeting, like, I wonder if I'm in the NSA and FBI's binders full of women.
I wonder if you're just under A or L.
Yeah.
Are we like does that make, like, if they drone her, does that make us, like, are we militants? Since we're like,
I don't know.
or are we?
It ruins the value of Carrie's property because we're in her house.
Yeah.
You're
Casualties?
Yeah, we'll try not...
if you're a legitimate militant, then the missile avoids you for some reason.
Yeah, we will try not to be drone striked while I'm in my friend Carrie's house, because that would really fuck with the value of her property.
Yes,
Yeah,
no.
she wouldn't like that. Yeah, I think that, like, friends don't get drone striked in friends' houses.
Did I miss part of the debate, or was it only about like jobs and gasoline?
The debate was
prices? And
such a
nothing
joke
else.
that...
Yes, you missed the
It was
And
about
women.
drilling.
And who loves women more?
It was about drilling, baby.
Drilling.
Drilling. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know what? Come on. We gotta admit, Obama had more balls in this debate than
He said he
had the last time,
he said
right?
he said Romney was sketchy.
No, I mean there were some.
He did. He said that was sketchy. That was kind of awesome. That was a highlight for me.
The
That
fact
was
that
a
it was in
total
the
highlight.
round, it felt like there was a sumo match about to happen. Like he was in combat mode, and I like that. So we have to give him a little bit of props for like actually like.
Oh, Obama's
Giving
good in combat. He's got drones and shit for that. Yeah.
Drone
So
cam.
if you guys had binders full of men, who would be in your binders?
I actually know this.
I'd be
Every
in
man
there.
in this room would
It would just be
my
100 photos of me, and maybe some with Del Cameron.
Nicole?
Yeah, we at Suicide Girls actually we actually make all of our contributors submit photos. So I actually have a binder full of naked David Seaman photos because that was a prerequisite for him to become a contributor. So yeah, I actually do have like binders full of naked Dave Seaman photos.
She's like the J. Edgar Hoover of
Yeah.
online publications.
Yeah. It's how you get to work for us in the first place. Yeah.
But speaking
Yeah,
of women, what do we think of the moderator woman?
So Candy Crowley,
Candy Crumb.
to me, as an investigative
And
journalist,
a
was
former
very upsetting.
CNN. Former CNN.
And a former CNNer.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for her to interject and actually ask some questions that actually had balls and had to do with journalism, like the NDAA, Abominus.
What?
Abominus. How many drinks have you had?
We have to do a little remix.
Obama's,
remix. Let's all remix. Abominus.
Obama's
Obama.
criminalization of journalism. The fact that the majority of the
What, do you
country
mean
is having
the
trouble getting
abominus
by
of
right now.
journalism?
Yeah, the abominus of journalism.
I felt
But
like
she didn't ask any tough
Yeah.
questions, and she just sat back and let them sit there and argue back and forth, and that's not what journalism's about. We're supposed to be a watchdog
She was
on
more of
these
a sitter.
politicians.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
but
a sitter
I
on a psychedelic trip. She wasn't
Yeah.
a moderator.
Yes.
She was just there to
Joe
make sure that
Rogan would
nobody
appreciate
like
that.
But
there to
don't,
make sure that nobody died. That's it. Like she did nothing.
Yeah.
but don't you think the way Romney treated her, it was a little aggressive, and I felt like October is anti-bullying month, and Romney fucking bullied Candy big time.
Well, he
Was
tied
it
he
Candy?
tied his dog up to
Yeah.
the station wagon for 12 hours, right? Like I mean,
It probably
I think
did.
Oh my god.
I think it's because she refused to be in his binders.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, every comment needs to be brought back to the binders.
Well, I
Yeah.
can imagine that when he's like transporting stuff across country, he puts his binders of women on the roof. Too.
what if our
Yeah.
cynicism is so misplaced and like on his desk right now there are like 10 binders of women he admires?
Okay, you're scaring me right now.
Well, oh my gosh, you know who kept binders? Gaddafi kept binders of Condoleezza Rice. Do you remember that?
That was some creepy shit.
They went into his compound and they found that he actually had binders of photos of her because he was obsessed with Condoleezza Rice. And she found them and they gave them to her after she
Okay.
after he was killed.
Who do you all have a binder of? Virtual.
Okay, I don't really have one.
Virtual in
The
your
handsome
brain.
brothers.
In your brain, if you can have a binder of somebody, who would it be? Who are you obsessed
have to
with?
answer out loud.
Go.
I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
I'm so pleading the fifth. Yeah, I've got binders of shit on this computer. I ain't saying shit. Yeah, you asked the question.
okay.
Well, okay.
Did you say men?
Imaginary
No.
binders.
Anyone?
Men or women
I don't have a
who
binder
we're
full of men.
obsessed with.
My inspirations.
Your inspirations. That's a good. You're obsessed with your inspirations, which are who?
That's the part that's the Fifth Amendment. Pleading that part. No,
That's been totally
I
NDAA ruined.
that, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
even
you
have.
have
I don't
that
even
one.
have the Fifth Amendment.
Oh, but actually, what I would do is I will grand jury you. I will grant you immunity, and then I will ask you that question.
Retroactive immunity. All right.
There is no immunity. Yeah, it does not exist in America. You are in the grand jury. You have immunity.
Catherine Forrest, she'd be in there. She's an inspiration. Federal judge.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
yeah.
She'd definitely be in there.
George Clooney, Men Who Stare at Goats.
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah, you're feeling it, aren't you?
So
Hunter-
tell
Hunter
everyone
S.
about the
Thompson,
men who
he would be in
stare
there.
at goats. Hunter
Hunter
S.
S.
Thompson,
Thompson.
Nellie Bly. You know, I just am obsessed with her. She checked herself in a mental institution to prove that they were. She did submersion journalism to prove that they were abusing patients. So she actually lived the story to show what was happening instead of talking to PR people. She was amazing. But let's talk about the men who stare at goats, because I think this has to do with everything you're trying to fix, Mr. Seaman.
Yeah, because you can't make this shit up. I actually interviewed the Men That Stare at Goats is a film starring George Clooney that is actually based on a book written by John Ronson. And it is about an actual military operation that happened over a period of like years, maybe over a decade.
And this is real life.
And this is real life. There was like multi-millions pumped into this. And it was actually a PSYOPs operation in that it was.
Can you explain what PSYOPs is, people out there?
Well, it was beyond PSYOPs.
Okay, in my binder of women is Nicole Powers. Right? Leave it at that. You can continue.
Because this is all true, and the interesting thing is, through other areas of my life, I know the people that were interviewed for this book, and I know it to be true. It was a serious book written by a very serious journalist in the UK that investigated the American military's effort to train psychics so that they could will their enemies to die.
Awesome.
And as part of this multi-million-dollar effort that went over years and years and years and went to the highest of high generals, they actually had a crack team of debleated goats. Debleated because it was a top secret operation, so they actually had to hide their... Yeah, they were debleated, so they could not bleat. Because it was a top secret operation that was conducted in an army base that not even other people on the army base knew. So they kept these goats in a basement, and they literally trained soldiers to stare at the goats to will them to die, because they were thinking that if they could cyclically will people to die, they could do this to the likes of Bin Laden.
This is where your taxes go, by the way.
And this is seriously when you are writing your check to the U.S. Treasury, this is where some of your money is absolutely seriously.
And this is also the best,
in your city. Just remember.
This is also the best new band name. Debleated Goats.
Yeah, Debleated Goats. Awesome, awesome.
Okay.
Best new band name since Folders of Women. Yeah. But seriously, I mean, you cannot make this shit up. It is absolutely true. Your tax dollars were going to debleed goats, smuggle them onto an army base, keep them in an underground bunker, and pay soldiers to stare at them. Now, of course, if you pay enough monkeys to play with a typewriter, you get Shakespeare. So you pay
Best quote of the night.
You pay enough.
Better than the binders for women.
You pay enough U.S. troops to stare at goats. Eventually, a goat will die. The army just apparently has no grasp of the law of statistics. Okay. So when a goat died, that soldier would be a fucking hero because that soldier had psychic powers that could kill goats and was ergo sort of a legend within the Men Who Stare at Goats division, who was just a hair away from actually being able to kill Bin Laden just with his thoughts.
So what was the question for David?
So that is why both George Clooney and John Ronson are in my.
And that's why Candy Crowley failed, because she failed to ask about the Men Who Stare at Goats at the debate.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. What was the question? There was a question for David here, wasn't there?
I think I answered the question. I said who'd be my
Who'd
binder.
Who'd be in your binder?
Okay.
Yeah.
Catherine Forrest and you guys probably.
Oh, we would.
And Abby
We'd
Martin.
be your women in your binder.
Abby Martin would be in there for sure.
Oh.
So you'd have just 3 women in your binder, 4 women in your binder?
I don't want to brag about having binders. There'd just be one binder.
There'd just be one binder.
One binder.
not in the
They
plural.
even get their own binder.
Yeah, you mean I have to share a binder with these
There's
ladies?
dividers.
We're gonna
And I think we need to take an advertising break.
we're gonna end it here.
Yeah.
Binders of women are available at Staples.
So
20% off for the ladies.
Courtesy of Mittens.
If you want to support a starving entrepreneur, go to Staples and support Mitt Romney.
I thought you were going to mention my web company, but no.
Or allomedia.net.
And you can also, next to the binder section, we have hole punchers,
Oh yeah, because
folders, and pens, ballpoint pens.
Yeah, because if you want a woman, you've got to put 3 rings on it.
Whoa!
That's what Beyonce would say.
Beyonce!
Let's wrap this up and take it home so we can drink some more champagne, red wine. Anyone want to close with some final thoughts and where people can harass you on Twitter?
You can harass me on Twitter at Nicole Powers or at Suicide Girls. Or if you really, really want to harass me, my pseudonym is Carrie A. Basillo.
That was Carrie A. Borzillo.
Amber?
Amber Line.
What's my Twitter handle?
Amber Line.
At Amber Lion.
At Amber
With the
Line.
Y.
L-Y, not like the animal. I have a Y, not an I,
Not
okay?
like lying around.
All right, and then
I think
Not
of you,
like
I
lying.
think of you like an animal, though.
Yeah, I am, kind of.
Confusing.
She always goes straight for the throat. And at Del Cam.
and
Nothing to do with
Jason?
Dell computers.
No.
you don't have anything?
Yes.
No. All right, just Jason. You can Google Jason. It'll come up.
And can I just say, like, if our photo hasn't made the Binders of Women Tumblr by the time this like podcast comes out, like, comment on
I
that
call
shit.
it censorship.
Yeah,
Something's
Yeah.
going
yeah,
on.
Yeah,
It's a total rig.
I blame the NDAA.
I call it
I blame the
racism.
CIA.
I call it
blame
racism against Italians.
Yeah, the
Whatever
NSA is
you
all
are.
over that. They don't want us to succeed and get on that blog.
Yeah, I
Can't handle the
Yeah.
truth.
I
about
blame
mine.
anything that ends with an A. Yeah.
Racism against hot chicks. Okay.
All right, everyone.
Just saying.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned. We're gonna have some even more serious commentary later this week.